What if the single greatest obstacle standing between you and the life you want is not your circumstances, not your past, and not your lack of resources, but the way you have been thinking all along? Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your heaviest chain. The choice of which one it becomes rests entirely with you. Most people move through life carrying a quiet weight they cannot name. They wake up each morning already rehearsing what could go wrong. They replay their failures before they have even attempted anything new. They tell themselves they are being realistic, that they are simply preparing for disappointment. But the truth is, they have been practicing defeat for so long that it has begun to feel like wisdom. Nobody warned us that the mind, left untended, gravitates naturally toward fear. Nobody told us that every thought we allow to take root quietly shapes the world we experience. And so we go on building prisons out of our own imaginations, day after day, wondering why freedom always seems just out of reach. In the 1950s, Norman Vincent Peale, a pastor and counselor who had spent decades sitting with broken and defeated people, noticed something extraordinary. The men and women who recovered, who rebuilt their lives and found purpose after great loss, they were not always the most talented, the most educated, or the most fortunate. What distinguished them was something far simpler and far more powerful: the consistent, deliberate practice of believing that things could get better. He wrote about a man who came to him paralyzed by self-doubt. This man had watched 3 businesses fail. He believed himself cursed, unlucky, fundamentally unworthy of success. Peale gave him one unusual instruction. He told him to stop rehearsing failure and instead, every single morning before his feet touched the floor, to speak one sentence aloud: "I can do all things through a strength greater than my own." The man resisted. It felt foolish. It felt dishonest. But in his desperation, he tried it. Weeks passed, then months. He did not simply think better. He began to act differently. He made phone calls he had been avoiding for years. He walked into rooms with his head lifted. He stopped apologizing for taking up space. Within a year, he had built something that truly lasted. Not because the world had changed, but because he had. The outer world is always a reflection of the inner world. Change the thoughts, and the actions follow. Change the actions, and the life follows. What Peale understood, and what modern science has since confirmed, is that the mind does not distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is actually experienced. When you repeatedly picture failure, your nervous system responds as though failure has already arrived. When you rehearse inadequacy, your brain filters all of reality through that lens, finding only the evidence that confirms what you already believe. But the reverse is equally true and far more beautiful. When you consistently direct your thoughts toward possibility, toward gratitude, toward the belief that you are capable, your mind begins searching for evidence of that instead. You start noticing doors that were always open. You start hearing encouragement that was always there. You begin taking the small, courageous steps that compound over time into extraordinary change. Positive thinking is not the naive denial of hardship. It is not pretending that pain does not exist. It is the disciplined refusal to let fear write the final story. It is holding firmly to the belief that a way forward exists, even when you cannot yet see it clearly. Begin each morning with intention rather than anxiety. Before you reach for your phone, before the noise of the world rushes in, take 60 seconds to direct your mind. Ask yourself, what is one thing I am grateful for? What is one thing I believe I am capable of today? These are not empty affirmations. They are mental reps, built the same way a strong body is built, through consistent and repeated effort. Audit the voice in your head. When it speaks in the language of impossibility, I am not good enough. This will never work. Things never go my way. Do not accept those words as truth. Challenge them the way you would challenge a friend being too hard on themselves. Ask honestly, is this actually true? Or is this simply fear speaking? Surround yourself with language that lifts you. Spend time with people who believe in growth, and act in spite of doubt, because positive thinking without action is daydreaming, but positive thinking paired with consistent, courageous action is the formula for a genuinely changed life. There is a version of your life waiting on the other side of the thoughts you have not yet dared to think consistently. It requires no perfection. It requires no certainty. It requires only this: the daily, faithful decision to believe you are worth the effort, and that growth is always possible. Peale was not selling a fantasy. He was revealing a law as reliable as gravity itself. Think you can, or think you cannot. Either way, you are absolutely right. The only question that remains is, which thought will you choose to practice from this day forward? The life you want is waiting, and it begins, as it has always begun, in the quiet theater of your own mind.